In Baldur's Gate 3, Disguise Self is a level 1 illusion spell that allows the caster to assume the appearance of almost any race. When you cast Disguise Self, it will remain effective until your next long rest. This means you can enjoy the experience of being whoever you choose for as long as you like. While it may not get the recognition it deserves, we think this spell can prove to be quite advantageous in multiple scenarios. In this video, we will highlight the 5 best applications for this spell. Interrogating the dead is a long-standing tradition in Baldur's Gate, but there's a catch. Most corpses are reluctant to converse with their own killer.
The corpse seems willing to speak, but not to its killer.
What many players are unaware of is that you can utilize the Disguise Self Level 1 illusion spell to take on another identity, compelling the corpses of your own victims to divulge their secrets. In our opinion, this isn't merely a clever trick, but a real game changer for uncovering hidden lore, finishing side quests, or discovering that elusive clue that many players overlook. It's a remarkable example of how blending seemingly unrelated spells can yield ingenious solutions, allowing you to feel like a genuine master of arcane manipulation.
I must keep going.
The corpse regards you lifelessly.
Try to protect our grove. Beneath, locked by runes. Wolf rune, wrath.
With the Disguise Self spell, you can stroll into the Goblin camp without any issues. One of the Goblin leaders happens to be a drow, and in the lore of D&D, drows are infamous for keeping goblins and gnomes as slaves. Consequently, any goblin will regard you as superior simply because you are a drow. This means you can walk into the Goblin camp and have unrestricted access to all areas. There's no need to convince the guards to allow you in by smearing dung on your face or rolling a persuasion skill check with this tactic. This is a fantastic choice if you wish to enter the Goblin camp on friendly terms, but lack the dialogue skills necessary to persuade others. Just keep in mind that you can do this before taking out the leaders. If you cause chaos in the Goblin camp, use Disguise Self and come back. They will still see you as an enemy.
Captured themselves a bar.
New Age's dawning with goblins.
It's massive!
Oh,
But still just a bit. It don't feel right messing with it, is all.
The Druid House is in here. Somewhere.
Statue of Seluna. Let's keep an eye out and hope he's still.
Alright? And once the whelp starts singing, we'll know who said.
More vile idolatry. Makes my stomach smells like burnt flesh in here. For once, the goblin.
One of the most effective applications of Disguise Self is to gain the ability to use race-specific weapons and armor, giving you an advantage in combat. Certain weapons can only provide their unique attributes if the user belongs to a specific race. Take the famous Githyanki Greatsword, for instance. It possesses the Githborn Psionic Weapon attribute, which allows its wielders to inflict an extra 1d4 psychic damage. But this attribute is only granted if the wielder is a Githyanki. In this case, I'm using it with Lae'zel, and the psychic damage shows up instantly. while if you use it as a paladin, you won't see any psychic damage at all.
Try me.
However, by becoming a Githyanki, you can fully exploit this sword. For example, here's Shadowheart in the form of a Githyanki. As you probably already know, there are numerous other race-specific items in Baldur's Gate 3, and you might not always have every race and class represented in your party to exploit these tactics. Thus, Disguise Self remains a fantastic strategy for winning difficult battles, if your Bard or Human Ranger isn't performing up to par. Numerous locations in Baldur's Gate 3 are filled with specific races or communities. If you are not part of these groups, you will be unable to utilize race-specific dialogue options, making it more difficult to sway either side and alter the course of events. Conversely, if you share a race, background, or class with an NPC, you frequently unlock special dialogue options that facilitate a connection with them. Here I am as a paladin, getting a tiefling dialogue with Maul after using Disguise Self on myself. By forming this bond, you can persuade them to comply with your wishes or gain their favor. This serves as a testament to the often underestimated Disguise Self spell, which lasts until your next long rest, proving to be extremely advantageous in these large areas, enabling you to interact with all pertinent NPCs. You will have access to places that others cannot reach, and gather insights that remains hidden to them.
If our kind looked out for one another, we wouldn't need to deal with devils. Poison? Sure. You must love the taste of it. He seems to know you pretty well. Do as I say, not as I do, right? Got a lot of that from Zev, too, and he was a walking pile of imp shite at the end of the day. Look, you saved us. Not knocking that. But after you left, Zevlor lost his nerve. Gave up the fight. I won't. Now there's no grove, no coin, no one taking us to the city. I'm not letting my crew get eaten by shadows. Maybe I'll make a deal, maybe I won't. But it'll be my choice, not the devil's, and not yours.
As you approach the conclusion of Act 1 and beyond, you'll begin to notice peculiar small holes in Baldur's Gate 3, which are far too tiny for an average person to enter. These openings or caverns are typically discovered by successfully passing a perception check. The common strategies to access these cramped spaces include using the Disguise Self spell to morph into smaller races like gnomes or halflings, or employing the Wild Shape spell to transform into a mouse, provided you have a druid in your group. However, it's possible that your party lacks a druid, and there are numerous minuscule holes in the game that cannot be accessed even by gnomes or halflings. For instance, this very small burrow hole at Joaquin's Rest. The solution continues to be the Disguise Self spell, but the secret lies in combining it with the Enlarge or Reduce spell. First, cast Disguise Self to become a gnome, and then use Reduce on your character. This technique will permit you to access practically any tiny space you discover in the game.
And which part of me is supposed to fit in there exactly? I'm a large man, and that's a very small hole. As you wish.